Hi. So the goal for this video is to talk about anonymous functions in MATLAB. And the purpose of this is, let's say I have a function that you might see on paper, something like f of x is equal to x squared. Now, doing f of x in MATLAB on its own will give an error, and I'll try to explain why in a second. So we have to use this concept of anonymous functions. And let me give you an example. Let's say I tell you that f is equal to x squared, and then I say, what is f of 7? Ideally, if I say f of 7, that means go plug the 7 in for x and output 7 squared. However, there's a few issues with this. First off, if we try to run this, we will see that x is not defined. So MATLAB does not know what x is. It thinks you're creating this and assigning it to a variable called f. That doesn't work. Additionally, if this function was not even in terms of x, let's just say that f of x is equal to, I don't know, 1. This would be a horizontal line at y equals 1. If I do f of 7, that does not mean plug 7 into this. And MATLAB is going to think that you are trying to access the 7th element of an array. This is the general concept. We do usually this, f of row 1, comma 7. But if we do this, it's the same thing in the sense of find me the 7th element in that array, assuming that it's a single row or a single column. So this doesn't work. So what we're going to learn is how do we create this anonymous functions. And the key thing to remember is that we will use the @ symbol to help us with this. So let's say I do want to create the function, f of x is equal to x squared. This is what I want to create with the goal of finding f of 7. What we're going to do is write f equals, and instead of doing x squared, we're going to reference this random variable x that doesn't even exist. But in doing this type of format and syntax, what we're saying is that if we call upon the function f with some input, that input will replace whatever variable is here and ultimately replace it in the actual function itself. So if I do f of 7, let's clear everything. If I do f of 7, we will get an output of 49. By simply including @ and then the variable that we're interested in finding or using, we can go ahead and have a lot of capability in terms of what is this function. And, I can make this even more complicated if I wanted to, or anything like that, and I can still find out what that function is going to be for whatever input. This isn't limited to one variable. I can do this in terms of multiple variables. We'll just do 2 for now. X plus y. Now note I called this f up here. We are overwriting f now with this type of function, x plus y. If I do f of 3 comma 2, the first element that we call upon will be assigned to x, and the second element will be assigned to y. The order is important. If I run this, we see we get 5. It'll plug in 3 into there and 2 into there. Now, just to illustrate that that does change, let's say that this is x minus y, and I do f of 3 comma 2. If I do f of 3 comma 2, what is our output going to be? Well, this 3 will be plugged in for x. That'll be 3 minus y, which will be now 2. If we run this, we will get 1. Now, if I were to switch these, the difference is now that this 2 is going to be x and this 3 is going to be y, and we'll get 2 minus 3, which will give us -1. So that all plays a very important role. Do x again. Another thing we can do is that if I have a variable, let's say, I can do f of t in this case. So if I were to run this, it would give me 100. It'll take this value of t, which is assigned to 10, and make this f of 10. I can do whatever I want with this. I can plug this function into x just to kind of show what this would look like. This is the same as t squared minus t plus 6 squared because we're plugging it in for x. This is x. This is x. If I run this, it'll plug in 10 into here. 100 minus 10 is 90 plus 6 is 96. If we do 96 squared, we get the answer that we expect. That's the basics of anonymous functions and how we define them. But the benefit of this is that once we have anonymous functions defined, we can do things with them, find solutions to the equation, or find maybe perhaps when two functions share a common point, then we find the solution to that equation. So what we're going to do is first look at the fact of how do we make an equation true, or how do we find the value of x that makes this equation true. And what we're going to use is the fzero command in MATLAB, where fzero, the input will be some function f that is an anonymous function and some initial guess. We'll talk more about what this looks like shortly, but this is the format of fzero, where this f will be defined anonymously. So given this x cubed minus x is equal to 12, what is f? Is it x cubed minus x? Is it x cubed minus x equal to 12? Like, how do we actually type that? Well, the thing to note that whenever we're doing any of these predefined functions in MATLAB that involve anonymous functions, we want everything equal to 0. So we want everything on one side of the equal sign. Meaning, if I want to use this fzero function on this exact example, I'm going to subtract 12 over to the other side. And this is what I did here, where I brought the 12 over to the other side, and now this will be the function that I am dealing with. So let's go see what that looks like. F is equal to at x. This was x cubed minus x minus 12. We'll double check that that's right. X cubed minus x minus 12. And then what I'm going to do is provide that function f and then an initial guess. Now, the way that this works behind the scenes is that MATLAB is going to run some algorithm in order to find when the function is equal to 0. To start that algorithm, it needs to be provided a starting point. Do I want to start this algorithm at x equal to 1 or x equal to 1,000,000? And depending on where you do that, you may get multiple answers or different answers depending on what your function is like. In this case, though, I already know what I'm going to do, and I'll show you in a second why I did it like this. I'm just going to do an initial guess of 4. And if I run this, I get an answer of 2.43. Now, just to clarify, this is the root of the function, or the 0, the x-intercept, however you want to refer to it as. And I plotted this earlier just to kind of show what this looks like. Here's this function x cubed minus x minus 12. And I plotted this horizontal line here that shows us when y is equal to 0. And I went over and tried to get near it, and we get 2.435. That's pretty close to 0. If we come back, we get 2.43. If we round it, it'd be 5. That's just from my cursor in my plot. But that's how we go ahead and use fzero to find that. Now, this function had only one x-intercept, so there's nothing really complicated with initial guesses. So let's move forward and do a second example. So in this case, we're going to find the value of t that makes this equation true. And just like before, the first thing we have to do is make sure that everything is on one side and equal to 0. So I'm going to move everything over to one side. I'll move the t squared over to give me this, sine of t plus 6 minus t squared. So let's go ahead and define this g function. It'll be in terms of t. It was sine of t minus 6 minus t squared plus 6 minus t squared. And I'm going to show you what this graph looks like first before I start plugging in things here. If we go look at the graph, you can see that there are 2 points that end up intersecting the x-axis where y is 0. One around 2.5 and the other at negative 2.3 roughly. Now, depending on the initial guess that I choose, it will yield one of these two answers. So let's first choose an initial guess around 1 over here. And let's see where that brings us. So if I do f0g with an initial guess of 1, if I run this, we can see we get the 2.5593. 2.55, that's roughly where I got with my cursor. Again, this is just from me clicking and moving it around. That's not an exact estimate. The answer in MATLAB is correct. If I did something in that same area, let's say do x equals 2, we will get the same answer. If I run this, I get the same answer. Now, let's say I change that initial guess and maybe I go to -1. Let's see where we end up in that situation. -2.29. That is exactly around where our x-intercept is on this side. The most important thing here is that your initial guess has a huge impact on what your code outputs. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So if you have an idea of what your function is doing, or if you're to run the code for several initial guesses, you can then determine what your possible x-intercepts are. Now, unfortunately, this method will spit out only one of the roots based on what your initial guess is. So this is fzero. This is our first type of predefined function we'll see with anonymous functions. The next thing that I want to go over is how do we solve a system of equations in MATLAB using anonymous functions. And let's say I give you the system of equations here, which is 4x plus 2y is equal to 5, and -2x plus y is equal to 6. Just like we did for the fzero function, we're going to set both of these equations equal to 0. So I'll subtract the 5 over to the other side to give me 4x plus 2y minus 5. And I'll subtract the 6 over to the other side to give me -2x plus y minus 6 is equal to 0. These are our two functions that we're going to use in MATLAB to help us find the solution to the system. Now, the way that MATLAB does it, though, is that we do not reference two variables x and y like we did anonymously at the beginning of the video. Instead, what we're going to do is create one variable z that will secretly contain x and y within it in this type of format, where z is this vector that contains these variables. This is how we will end up creating our functions in MATLAB. So the way that fsolve works is that fsolve will take in one function like before. Let's call that function capital F, not little f or not little g, just some overall variable that will contain all of our functions in it, and then some initial guesses. And in this case, I'm just doing 1 and 1. So how do we define this anonymously? Well, let's first keep in mind that z is secretly x and y. And I'll go ahead and copy and paste our functions from there. 4x plus 2y minus 5. And then the other one was -2x plus y minus 6. Those are both equal to 0, and that's good for us because we want these functions to be equal to 0. I will define this function f anonymously, but instead of doing this, fsolve won't like this. It'll give you an error. It needs to have only one variable. Note, I've arbitrarily called this z. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm calling it z. And we're going to define our functions based on this variable z that contains x and y. So the first equation is going to go in the first row of this f variable, this f vector. And it's going to be 4 times x plus 2y minus 5. If I do 4 times x, I cannot reference x in this situation. I have to extract it from this z. So x, based on the way to define it, will be z of 1. That is the first element in our vector. That is x. Plus 2 times y. That is the second element in z, minus 5. So compare this to this and make sure that you understand why that's the case. If I have 4 times x plus 2 times y, the element that we're extracting depends on the element that we want. I will do the other one, which will be -2 times x, that's z1, plus z2 minus 6. And now we have created this function anonymously that contains these two equations in our system. If I run this, you can see that I get an answer of -0.875 and 4.25. What does this mean? Well, this is basically the value of x and the value of y for our system. This answer is really z, 0.875 negative and 4.25. If we go look at our graph, you can see that I've plotted these two functions. 4x plus 2y is 5, -2x plus y is 6. And the solution to the system is the point where they intersect. And if we come over here, we saw that the x value is -0.875. Okay, that's right where I'm at. and the y value was 4.25. Mine was 4.249. So we are finding the point where they intersect. And we do that by defining this x and y in terms of z secretly and leveraging this function fsolve. Let's do this one more time, where now I give you a function that's a little bit more interesting. This system of equations will end up having two solutions. This is a line. This is a parabola. If we were to go down and look at these two functions, you'll see that they intersect at 2 points. What do you think determines what our output is? Well, just like before, the initial guess is really going to dictate where we end up. So let's go ahead and code this in MATLAB. Note that we have to take everything on one side and bring it to the other. I happen to take the 3x plus 2 and move it to the left. You can move the y over to the right, and it'd still give you the same answer. So let's go ahead and bring that over here now. I'm going to copy and paste that for our second case. Again, z is equal to xy. That's the way that I'm defining it. And then our other function is the one that's a parabola. Like that. Again, I'll create some function, maybe just to differentiate it, I'll call it g. And now I want to go and type this to match these functions in terms of z. Well, y is z of 2, based on the way that I defined it, minus 3 times z of 1 minus 2. That is my first equation. This is y minus 3x minus 2. The second equation is z of 2 minus x squared is going to be z of 1 squared plus 4. If we do fsolve of g and we provided two initial guesses, let's reference the picture here. Let's say I pick a point out here, 10, I don't know, 1010. I'm just picking something kind of arbitrary. Or maybe we'll go 1060. I'll just pick something kind of random over here. Let's see where we end up. If I do 1060 and I run this, we get 4.37 and 15.11. 4.37, 15.11. We chose an initial guess over here. Let's go ahead and choose something maybe over here, -7 and -20. Let's see what happens in that situation. -7, -20. We get -1.37, -2.11, -1.37, -2.11. So depending on your initial guesses, that has a huge impact on your code. We saw, just to summarize everything that we did, we defined an initial or an anonymous function using this @ symbol with any variables we want inside. And then, of course, I can do something like this, and I can output what our function ends up being. In this case, it's 0, because 1 plus 2 minus 3. Make it more interesting. If we wanted to do f0, we have to define the function anonymously, where this is the function when it's equal to 0. And I give it some initial guess. In this case, if this is the function x minus 6, when does that equal 0? When x equals 6. And the last one is when we went ahead and did fsolve. We'll provide the system inside of fsolve as one overall variable, where this variable is defined as some matrix, where each row in the variable is a different equation. Now, the x's and the y's are all referenced in terms of this variable z. If I ended up having an x, y, and a z here, that doesn't matter. I could have changed this to some other letter if I want. It's arbitrary if you didn't want to confuse yourself. But the logic's still the same. I will extract those variables from this imaginary z that doesn't really exist in order to solve my system. I hope this makes sense. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.